Whether you're speaking to a huge crowd or just a handful of people, the power to communicate a message that really lands is, well, it's a timeless skill. Today, we're going to dive into a masterclass on one of the most ancient and impactful forms of communication, all based on a simple but really profound guide to the art of preaching. So, right at the heart of this is a really key idea. Preaching is defined here as the art of communicating divine truth through human personality. And that tells you everything, doesn't it? It's not just about the message itself, it's just as much about the messenger. It's this incredible blend of divine inspiration and very human delivery, and getting that balance right is the whole ballgame. Now, there's a fancy word for this art: homiletics. And yeah, it sounds a little academic, but where it comes from is actually fascinating. It's from the Greek words for to converse and communicate. So you see, at its core, it's not supposed to be a one-way lecture. It's not connection. It's about dialogue. It's the whole study of how you prepare and deliver a sermon. All right, to get our heads around all this, we're going to walk through 5 key stages. First, we'll look at the art of homiletics itself. Then we'll get into finding the message. After that, we'll cover building the sermon, mastering the preacher's craft, and finally, we'll talk about the ultimate goal, turning all those words into action. All right, let's jump right in. First up, the art of homiletics, and this constant challenge of balancing the divine and the human. So, right away, we run into 2 big misconceptions, 2 ditches you can fall into. On one side, you have this idea that, hey, preparation is unnecessary. It shows a lack of faith. Just open your mouth and God will fill it. And on the other side, you've got the idea that human skill is all you need, that it's all about technique. But this guide is super clear. The real magic happens right in the middle, blending hard work and preparation with a total dependence on inspiration. Okay, so if a preacher needs both preparation and inspiration, where does the message even come from in the first place? Well, that brings us right to section 2, finding the message. And this isn't framed as just brainstorming. It's presented as a spiritual discipline, a way to actually receive the thoughts of God. So how do you do that practically? Well, the guide lays out this really helpful 4-part process. It starts with an internal posture, waiting on God, and the external work of studying the Bible. Then it gets practical. You got to keep a notebook to capture those ideas when they come. But it all leads up to this final crucial step. You have to be cleansed by the word yourself before you can even think about sharing it with anyone else. And that idea is just perfectly summed up in this quote. The hardworking farmer must be first to partake of the crops. The principle here is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You can't feed other people something you haven't eaten yourself. The message has to change you, the preacher, before it has any chance of changing the congregation. It's about ministering from experience, not just from theory. Okay, so you've received the message, you've internalized it, it's become part of you. Now what? Well, now you have to build it. That's section 3, building the sermon. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the craft of putting it all together. And, just like any good story or any great speech, a sermon has that classic, timeless structure. You've got your introduction, which has to grab people's attention. Then there's the main body, where you unpack your points. And finally, you need a powerful conclusion to drive it all home. It's a simple framework, but mastering it is absolutely key. Oh, I absolutely love this analogy from the source material. It compares building a sermon to building a house. The introduction? That's the path leading to the front door. Each main point you make is like a different room inside the house. And illustrations? Those are the windows you build into each room to let the light in, to illuminate your ideas. It's just a brilliant way to think about creating a clear and engaging structure. Now, when it comes to the actual notes you bring with you, there are a few different approaches. You could write the whole thing out, word for word. That's really thorough, but it can sound pretty stiff. Or you could go the total opposite direction, the inspirational sermon with almost no notes. That's spontaneous for sure, but you risk it being a little thin on content. The recommended sweet spot? Skeleton-type notes. It's a brief outline. It gives you structure, but it also gives you the freedom to be in the moment, to be open to inspiration as you speak. All right, we've talked a lot about the message. Now let's switch gears and talk about the messenger. Section 4, the preacher's craft. We're looking at the person themselves and their method of delivery. So what makes for an effective personality up front? It really all boils down to one word: authenticity. Be yourself. Don't try to copy other people. Be sincere. Be true to who you are. The source uses this great phrase, be a clean vessel, which really highlights that you can't separate the messenger's character from the message itself. It's all about who you are aligning with what you say. This brings us to the essential toolkit for any speaker, which the guide frames as the 3 V's. First up is vision. You need a clear, ultimate goal for why you're even doing this. Second is vocabulary. Words are the tools of your trade, so you need a good supply. And third, there's your voice, your greatest natural asset, something you have to take care of and develop. And then, of course, you've got the nuts and bolts of delivery. As you can see, this covers everything from vocal variety, like changing up your speed and volume, to using the power of silence with a good pause. It's also about your physical presence, making eye contact, using natural body language. These aren't just a list of tricks. They are all tools for one single purpose: to build and maintain a real, genuine connection with your audience. And that brings us to our final, and honestly, the most important section of all: from words to action. After all the preparation, all the delivery, what's the whole point? What's the ultimate purpose of all this? The goal is captured perfectly in this verse from the book of James. Quote, "Be doers of the word and not hearers only." This tells us everything. A sermon isn't just about transferring information. Success isn't measured by what the audience now knows, but by what they do, by how their lives are actually changed. And that really leaves us with this final thought. Look, any message can inform someone of an idea, but a truly great sermon, a truly powerful piece of communication, aims for something higher. It aims to transform them. So the question for any of us who communicate is this: what will your message do? Will it just be heard, or will it actually inspire action?